All right, so you have a hand here. We'll go through the hand. We'll talk about the ruling, and then we'll talk about what happened and what you think we'll do. So where are you playing at?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, by the way, where is this
So
played
this
at?
is
Because this is an
a
interesting ruling.
so this is 52 social.
In Houston or
There's a bunch
something?
of street in Houston, yeah,
Yeah,
Houston,
yeah, yeah,
Texas.
yeah.
So there's like the main place I play. I'm also a dealer for the tournaments for some side
Okay.
money. I have a regular job, but
Yeah.
I do deal there tournaments. So it's a very homely place to me. So I
Mm-hmm.
play there every day. It's 52 social poker in Houston, Texas.
Yep.
And it also helps that you live in Austin now, so you kind of know how Texas poker is versus other places of the world. So you kind of have an idea of how they play.
Well,
Same way at TCH.
here's my take with Texas poker and rules is that, and no offense, I mean, I hope none of the owners, especially the guy, especially Ryan from TCH, takes offense. Well, Ryan's not really involved in like rulings and stuff like this, but they're kind of making it up as they go along in terms of like rulings because they're not really. I mean, anybody can
Yeah, we
open
stand like
anybody can
it's
open up.
standardized for the
Yeah,
club.
anybody
Yeah.
can open a poker club. You don't need a license. Like
hmm
I can have a room and
Yeah.
just open it. Like, or I can rent some space, like in a strip mall and open it. So I just kind of giggle because like they make a big deal in Austin about tip chips. Like, oh my god,
hmm
like you can't tip the dealer with chips that actually have value. So you can buy tip chips or tip the dealer in cash, but the tip chips don't play and they're super strict about it. And I'm like, guys, like you don't even know, like you just fucking rented an empty room. Like what are you talking about? Like you're so you get some bizarre stuff that just doesn't make any sense, which is one of the things that we'll get to here in a second. All right, so 52, what's the size of the game?
Yeah. Okay. So this is 1-3 with a min of 100 and a max of 3K. So we played pretty
Match
deep for
match the
1-3,
stack?
obviously.
Match the stack.
Max of 3K. Match half the stack if it's greater than 3K.
So this is like the
So
Texas. This is Texas 1-3. That's
yeah,
another question people.
yeah. This is Texas 1-3. That's why I was saying like it helps that you kind of
Yeah,
understand.
I mean, people.
Living in Texas now.
You understand like how many people will sort of contact me on social media and they'll be like, "Oh, I want to move to Austin, but the biggest game I ever see go in there is like 2-5," and I'm like, there aren't. The biggest regular game is 1-3, but it plays more like a 5-5 to 5-10 because of the match the
Yeah,
stack and the big
exactly.
blinds and stuff like that. All right, so 1-3, 100 to
So it's
3,000.
1-3, 100, 3K max, but I covered table, and I think the effective in this hand is 600 to 700 effective.
All right, so it's not crazy
And I
big.
cover table. Yeah, yeah. It's not
Okay.
it's not completely Texas outrageous.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so I'm in the low jack with King Jack Heart Club, King of Hearts Jack of Clubs. The under the gun, the +1 limp. I decide to make it $20, which is standard sizing in Texas. In 1-3.
In the
Cut
and
off
you're in the
button.
low jack, right?
Low jack, yes. With King Jack off, make
Okay.
it 20.
Yep.
The cutoff, the button, the big blind, the under the gun, and the +1, of course, all call, it being Texas and all.
The cutoff,
So
the
we're going 6 ways
button,
to the flop.
the big blind, the under the gun,
The under the gun, and the
plus
+1 that limped, all
right,
call.
call. So 6 ways.
Yeah, 6 ways to flop,
Okay.
standard. To
Yep.
a flop, which comes King 9-4, Rainbow. It's a club, spade, heart, respectively.
King of Hearts, nine of.
Or King of clubs, 9
Oh.
of spades, 4 of hearts.
Okay. Yep.
So big blind checks, undergun checks, +1 checks.
Mhm.
I decide to c-bet on this board, of course, for $75.
Okay.
Trying to thin the field, of course, and see who stays in the hand and evaluate a turn. The cutoff folds, the button calls, the big blind calls, the under the gun folds, and the +1 folds.
So the button and the big blind call.
Big blind call, yeah.
So you put 225 and it looks like it's like 345 to the turn, right?
Yeah, 346 to the turn. Yeah,
Okay.
346 to the turn, which comes the 10 of diamonds. So now we have a gutter ball to go with our top pair.
Okay.
Big blind checks it. We
Mhm.
decide to go for 180 into the 346. Obviously, we have more equity to the queen now. So it's a pretty good card to make a bet on for the turn. The button folds,
Mhm.
and then this is where the scenario happens. And I want to explain it in really careful detail because obviously there's a lot of people that don't agree with how it was played out in the ruling. Anyways, let's get to it. The big blind slides a stack of greens out. Looks about like 300 with no verbal declaration. That's kind of the first part where I think the dealer should have asked what their intention was. So
So
have a feeling myself that
we're gonna go over this piece by piece because I looked into this
yeah,
too,
yeah.
and I contacted I contacted my buddy Alan Lai, works at the World Series and was like the lead floorman at the bike. And I can tell you how this would be ruled in LA cash games for sure. And I'm pretty sure it's in TD rules as well. So here's the thing. So he put in 300 greens, which are $25 chips. So he's got a stack that's not obviously a full stack.
It looks like 300. Right. It could be less or it could be less or more, but it looks like 300.
So if you put in oversized chips above the call amount, so you bet 180, okay? So if this guy threw out two $100 chips, two black chips, okay, that would absolutely be a call. But if he threw out 300 black chips, or in this case, 300 in green, this is what the rule is. And this is, people get confused because of the 100% all-in rule. Now, remember, this guy has money behind as well. So people get confused because like, oh, you need to make it 100% of the raise. That's only when someone's all in to basically open the betting back up. In this exact scenario, if the raise is over half of minimum for the amount of chips that were basically thrown in, then it should be forced for a min raise, meaning that you bet 180. So if his total amount put in is 270 or more, representing half of your bet, okay, he should be forced to make this 360. If he threw out 275 in green, okay, he should be forced to make it 360. If he only threw out 250 in green, right, say he had two less chips, then it's just a call. That's how it's supposed to be played out. It's half of the raise. So if you threw out three black chips, it would be a raise. They'd be forced to 360. It's 50% to basically complete to a min raise. So if he doesn't say anything, this should be made 360. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. And to that point, I mean, this is one of those things where you said Texas rulings is different because it's a card room. We had some angling within our room where people were sliding out stacks in PLO to where if it's not verbal declared, it stands as a call. So that could possibly be one of those things. But I completely agree that it was, 50% more. I don't know if you have any input on that specifically. That
if he's not verbalized, then it's just a call. What if he put out like a stack of 700 green?
Well, so that's different. So that's different. But if it's not certain and there was no intention behind it should be clarified with the player, but because the dealer didn't clarify it, the dealer stated that it was a call.
See, again, this is sort of where the Mickey Mouse bullshit comes in from my views of some Texas card clubs. That should never be the way that you approach this situation. You can't ask the dealer what his intention is for a standardized ruling like this. I mean, it's pretty easy to make a rule. Why can't they just institute that ruling? You're going to say, what's your intention? I mean, I might say it as a player and let them go along with if they let it happen, but it shouldn't really be based upon the rule in that book. Anyway, so was it a raise or a call back to you?
I asked the dealer if it was a call or raise.
Yeah.
The dealer decided that it was a call. So he started pulling in the 180 from both of us.
Yep.
And then as he was doing this, pulling it into the pot, the big blind showed his hand to the button and small blind who weren't in the hand anymore. And he puts his hand face down across the line, near the muck pile, not on top of it, but almost directly adjacent to the muck pile.
Okay.
So the whole table kind of paused at this point. I paused too. And I was like, wait, what just happened? And then the dealer said, I don't know, of course. And this was a point where, no one knew what to do. So I decided in everyone's best interest, I'm not going to make the guy muck his hand. I don't know if I'm the one to say, oh, take your cards back, or if I should call floor, but I ultimately called floor to decide on making a decision on this, weird spot.
So it's ruled a call. It's not a raise. So there's no action back to you.
Yeah.
Before the dealer puts out the river card, for some reason,
the river before he even burns, the guy shows his hand.
So for some reason,
the player's not in the hand.
The guy just shows his hand, and then he puts his cards down towards the muck, like he thought that you mucked or something. Who even knows what's going on?
So I didn't realize it at the time after this hand, but when the next dealer change came in, she was saying that he smelled like alcohol, so like he had been drinking or he was drunk. So yeah.
So he puts his hand towards the muck. It goes over the line, and then so now you stop the game. You call the floor over. The floor comes over, but the hand's not in the muck, right?
The hand's not entirely in the muck. Yeah, it's not. It's retrievable.
Okay. So what does the floor say?
So we discussed it, and then we went through the scenario, and then the floor said, muck his hand.
Why would
We're told
why would the
he
floor
told the
muck
dealer
his
to muck your
hand
hand.
if the guy called?
Because I mean, that was with the floor ruling, because it was past the line, face down in the intention as a muck. And the other thing was,
well, you said this but Andrew, you said this in the email though too. So you're saying that the line means something, because I've never been at a place where the line means anything.
And that's the thing, right? Like, where if someone throws their cards past the line, is it intention a muck? And I mean, the guy after all the arguing and debating was going on, the guy was saying like, I fold. So I'm not sure.
So I mean, I don't understand if the hand is in the muck, why he can't necessarily just grab it. The whole thing with the line thing, I understand your confusion about, basically what to do if the dealer said sort of muck your hand. But what's the last part of this story though? Like your question about etiquette here.
Yeah. So the other thing is, like, once the pot shipped to me after his hand is mucked, is there any etiquette to am I supposed to feel bad or return his money, or
because some people
am I supposed to be accountable? Am I supposed to be accountable for him being drunk or intoxicated rather?
So because some people thought that you were supposed to chop the pot with him or something.
No, not even that, because he ended up showing ace jack offsuit to the other people. But it was like there's I guess people saying like, oh, you should feel bad or whatever, or like you should give him his money back or let him see a river. Like, there's all these differing opinions, and I just wanted to get your opinion on what you think should happen after the pot shipped to me. So
when he put the 300 green chips in, and then the floor guy said it's just a call, I'm assuming they gave 120 of that back, right? They only made 120 back. Yes, yeah. No, that was ruled as a call. I would probably just give him his 180 back and take the pot.
Okay.
I don't think it's like you're doing anything scummy by not doing that. The whole thing about, well, you should have just played a universal all-in, meaning that you should just check it down. You can put his 180 in and then just check the river, and whoever wins. But I mean, you don't know if he has ace jack unless he necessarily unless he basically flips it over. I mean, all these things in the heat of the moment. I mean, that would be one way to do it if people had time to think about it, where it's like, hey, listen, I've got ace jack. He flips it over, and you'd be like, all right, well, just put the river out. Whoever wins. There's no more betting, right? Just put the river out. There's no more betting. I don't know if I would necessarily, if he was so drunk and he was obviously going to be good for the game, I don't know if I would necessarily do that, because it would be, you'd have to think through that. And then, there's not a lot of time, but I think I probably would just give the guy his call back, because it's kind of weird that he called and then mucked his hand. It's just like, dude, yeah. But I mean, I don't think you're obligated really to do anything past that. And I think that, I don't know if I saw some people comments saying that you were, oh, you definitely should have given him his money back, or you're a scumbag if you don't. I certainly don't think that's the case, but I think I probably would have given him his call back.
Okay, yeah. That's kind of the thing. I was like, I don't know if I'm morally, because, I mean, I've been in the industry for, playing poker forever. So I was just wondering if that's actually an etiquette thing, where it's I'm obligated to feel bad and, be accountable for him playing it while intoxicated.
No, you're not obligated. So. No, you're not obligated. You're not obligated to do anything. You just have to think of poker as a long-term thing. Is this guy, again, this is the reality of it. Is he good for the game? Is he going to stay in the game? Is this going to cause a problem, a fight where the game might break up? Because, I mean, all those little things. I mean, the pot's already, about 180 to 345. Obviously the guy doesn't even know what's going on, which is probably going to be good for the game. But on something sort of like that, I would probably just give him, his last call back and take the pot. I mean, that's what I would do. But anyways,
okay.
Well, check out your vlog. Okay. Thanks for calling in.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. And love the content. Awesome that you moved to Austin to do the TCH stuff and giving insights at how Texas poker plays. So appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm itching. I'm really itching to get back out there and play. Thanks for the call, Andrew. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.